Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most enlightened man of them all? If you are a regular viewer of this YouTube channel, then you know I have done a lot of psychedelics in my life. I've done 500 milligrams of 5-MeO DMT, but then also done 1200 milligrams of 5-MeO malt, which is quite similar to 5-MeO DMT, if you've never heard of malt before. I've also done 500 milligrams of normal DMT, and I would estimate around 3,000 micrograms of LSD, and probably also around 30 strong magic mushroom experiences I've had. So that's quite a bit of a repertoire of psychedelics I've done. But the question is, has all of this made me enlightened? Has it made me the most enlightened person alive today? Has it made me the most enlightened person of all time? Now, let's be honest. No, it hasn't. I'm not even a contender for such a title, and actually, even theoretically, this is an incredibly stupid and silly sort of claim to make. With enlightenment, one very soon realizes it's not about yourself. It's not about this person. It's true that breakthrough experiences show you that your individual self is not different from God. The Atman is the same as the Brahman. But that's not to say that your personal self gets inflated and better or higher or more enlightened than anyone else. It's really not about you. Enlightenment, God, always exists. The thing is just that we can't see it. So that when we have an experience of God, we see that. But us as a person doesn't become any bigger or more powerful because of that. And actually, I'm going to say that the biggest blessing, the biggest gift of enlightenment experiences is a very, very strong humility. Humility is great. And I think we should make a distinction between enlightenment and psychic energy, psychic power. These two can go together very powerfully. Some people in history have had a lot of psychic power and been incredibly enlightened. They've been incredibly connected to God. And such people dedicate their lives to God. And then it's fantastic. You know, let's think for a second. Who are the contenders for the most enlightened people that have ever existed? I'm just going to pick two famous examples. Jesus Christ and Gautama Buddha. We could say they are contenders for the most enlightened man that has ever existed. Both of these people were incredibly humble people. In the case of Jesus Christ, he, in all humility, died on a cross. Okay, so let's assume here the mysticism is true, that he really had a lot of psychic power, that he could perform miracles, and that he could easily escape his fate of being crucified. But because of a deeper spirituality, he was that humble that he could die on a cross and go through all that suffering. And similarly, the Buddha, when he experienced his deep enlightenment, he dedicated his life to serving people, not to becoming the next king or the next emperor. He became a servant, not a glamorous emperor. So, with all these enlightenment experiences, I would encourage people to seek out humility. Humility to the vanishing point. Sometimes people get a lot of psychic power before they get this deep humility. And this is incredibly dangerous. A lot of time good people that are young get a lot of power, and generally it doesn't go great. But hopefully they find their way later in life. You know, let's just take someone like Mike Tyson, for example. Mike Tyson, if you look at him speak today, he seems quite wise, and he's definitely an interesting person. And there's no doubt that he has, and when he was young, he also had a lot of psychic power. He didn't just have power in his fists. He had something there that was powerful. His psychic energy was strong. Some people in history that take control of nations, like dictators, it's always easy to take Hitler as an example. He also, for whatever reasons, had psychic power, but he didn't have a deep humility and a deep kindness towards his fellow human being. So when we are exploring enlightenment, really, what we are searching for is humility above all. Not power, not fame, not glory. And it is really a joke. It's really silly. It sounds like hilarious when someone claims to be the most enlightened person to have ever existed. And I hope you can excuse my little clickbait humor of this title. Of course, I'm not the most enlightened person on earth. And it's strange because some people on psychedelics, they really feel that they are very special because they experienced some enlightened state. Now, if I am going to do some sort of a humble brag, the one thing I can say is, compared to most people in my city, let's say, I think I have tasted enlightenment experiences beyond what most people have. But that's not because I'm special at all. I'm so normal or even mediocre in so many ways. But what makes it interesting is because I've tasted those experiences using a sacred substance of 5-MeO DMT, it makes me feel that other people can also taste those peaks, those Himalayan peaks of consciousness, and hopefully they can also dedicate their lives to God. That's what makes psychedelics really interesting to me, is as soon as I experience something so profound as a breakthrough state of love, I want to share it with other people. And I would suggest that, although this title of the video is very silly, and it is silly, there is a more important message that we don't get caught up in feeling special and feeling inflated because of our spiritual experiences. Another important thing to mention is, you could say this is especially relevant to me because I have a YouTube channel. I could get into some sort of a mind state that I am a special messenger of God and what I am doing is important. And in some case, in some perspective, it is true that what I'm doing, I feel like it's important. It's the most important thing I can dedicate my life to. I want to dedicate my life to spreading the Holy Spirit, and I want to encourage people to go down a narrow path that leads them to experiencing God. That's the most important thing I can dedicate my life to. But in no shape or form does God need me. God is all-powerful. If he wanted something done, he could just think it into existence or speak it into existence. So in that sense, I'm just an ant. I'm just an ant doing its job, but for selfish reasons, it feels fantastic to dedicate my life to something that has the most deepest purpose that I can think of. I hope that makes sense, and I hope other people can resonate with that. It is important to dedicate your life to God, but we don't need to feel inflated because of it. Enlightenment, it's not about inflating ourselves. It's about surrendering ourselves so completely that we see God. Ourselves is an obstacle to God. It's not that we become so special that we can have communion with God. We become so humble, we become such a servant of God that we feel him working through us. In terms of psychic power, it is good that people explore with this slowly. But always I would suggest we prefer humility. Now, I will put on screen, maybe I'll just do a quick cut of my little sausage dog Kepler. He's a fantastic soul. I really feel like, at a soul level, I am not superior to my sausage dog. On an intellectual level and a physical level, I'm way smarter and stronger than my little dog, but he has a really sincere and good soul, I believe. One good thing about having a sausage dog is I sometimes like to play with him, but because he's so low down to the floor, I need to get on my knees and put my hands on the floor just to play with him. And this is a good act of humility, playing with a dog like that. He is a very cute dog, and he likes to be a little bit submissive around me, you can say. He's not trying to be dominant. When we're out for a walk, he likes to be a big, tough sausage dog. That's what they are like, that's their personality. But when we're playing, he puts his head low down on the floor. This is a dog thing that they're trying to show that they're not trying to be dominant, they're trying to be loving and unintimidating. And I like to reciprocate that with him. But because he's so low down, I'm literally putting my head on the floor and showing the little dog that I love it and I'm not trying to dominate it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but this can be our attitude to life and to other people. We are really not trying to be superior or dominant. We are trying to be compassionate and loving and just be a family with other people. Now, let us address the question of why hasn't all this psychedelic use made me enlightened? Because that ultimately is the goal of what we're after. We're trying to reach a permanent state of enlightenment. So it's good that we reflect and see the limitations that these substances do have. From all the meditation seats that I've tried in my life, this block of pine wood is my overall favorite. And now I will talk about why hasn't psychedelics made me totally enlightened. One way to answer that question would be to give you my whole life story. But instead I'm going to give you the more technical reason. And there is a technical reason. A full-blown enlightenment would happen, as I understand, as I see the process, when the psychic power of the Kundalini short circuits or has like a electrical connection, a strong electrical connection from the base of the body to, you could say, the brain. And that has all sorts of chemical implications in the brain, releases a lot of love. This manifests at the third eye, above the head, at the heart. It's bringing this raw psychic power into the beautiful high dimensions of life and allowing the body to have a real seismic shift in how it operates. It's a real 44,000 volt awakening. And I've had tastes of this. It's almost a little bit sad to me that with the Kachari Mudra, this practice has, for me, the very strong, it's very obvious ability or result when I do that practice. What it results in is a lot of Kundalini being drawn up, even to the third eye. So it's like an electrical tower or like a Tesla ball getting charged with voltage, and it's getting more and more, and beautiful things can happen in me. But this tower of electricity always falls over. Why does it fall over? It's this classic spiritual topic of desires. Now, when I take psychedelics, all my experiences in the past, I really do find them very helpful. They were so helpful in so many ways. And that's another reason I'm not enlightened, is because this process of spiritual purification and spiritually washing oneself clean, it's a huge process. At least my karmic baggage, it's turned out, is massive. It's not like I had a few little issues. I had a whole swamp full of spiritual mess all over my body, stored in so many themes and so many ways that it takes time to work through all of that. Lately, when everything gets stripped away and I see who I am beyond so much of my karma, so much of my baggage, when I can release all of that at a breakthrough experience, there's something that remains of me, the seed of my ego. And what that is desire. If one is going to enter this really charged state of awakening that is permanent, have this psychic energy boiling through the body, manifesting at the third eye, at the throat, in how you speak, at the heart, in everything you do, having love and the Holy Spirit emanate through you, if we're reaching a place like that, it's well documented, and I can see it as well, that people like that don't walk around with desires to have something. And in my particular case, the desire is quite specific, and it feels like a destiny almost, to meet the twin flame or love of my life, something like that. And this requires, at the Swadhisthana, a deep fulfillment of a desire and a deep surrendering of one's sensuality. Now, talking about a topic like this, it feels a bit vulnerable. It's very personal to talk about something like that. And the last thing I want is anyone to feel sorry for me. I definitely don't feel sorry for myself. And actually, there even is someone very special in my life. That it's got to be said, it's early days, but I definitely feel a lot of emotions like that when I'm around this person. And they're a wonderful, wonderful person. She's so nice and deep in so many ways. But she isn't exactly the point of this topic. The point is that with all the psychedelic use, when it strips away the karma, and if one is willing and works with the Christ-like energies, one can feel oneself being spiritually baptized and spiritually cleaned. But what that has left me with is a very raw desire for what I want to have in life. And I realize that this desire has been around with me as long as I can remember. It's like a deep spiritual destiny, it feels like. And ideally, I would just not have that desire and go through life, and one day things might happen, but I found that this isn't the case for me. This desire keeps distracting me from these supercharged states of awakening, if that makes any sense. So an analogy I have is the desire, when I'm on a psychedelic, becomes very raw, and the desire actually intensifies. Normally my desire, you can say it's like an apple, but a psychedelic strips away even the skin of an apple. If an apple has no skin, it's so raw to the touch. And actually having those pulsing desires at the Swadhisthana can be distracting in one's spirituality. So when I wake up in the morning lately and I ask for guidance from God and I feel what is it that I should be doing in life, it hasn't been to go take psychedelics, because these psychedelics lately, it hasn't felt like there's anything wrong in my life or like there's suffering in my life. A huge part of spirituality is ending our own personal suffering. And as I wake up in life and do what I feel like I should be doing, feel what I feel guided to do, there's not a lot of suffering going on. And it's just been a consistent theme that when I take a psychedelic, it's beautiful. I have a breakthrough state of consciousness. There is even some healing, but this intense pulsing desire does not get fulfilled with a psychedelic. And actually this desire just becomes more raw and pulsating, and then that can be distracting from practical things that I want to be doing. Practical things like right now it's building this studio. So I hope that makes some sort of sense. I think it does. If you've watched this whole video, I assume that you're a smart person that can understand and that you're spiritually inclined, obviously. So, just to wrap up, I'm not saying that psychedelics are of no use to me. They have been fantastic use, but there is a time and a place for everything. So as I was editing this video, I realized that I want to clarify. I'm not saying I'm done with psychedelics, and I'm definitely not saying that you should not responsibly use psychedelics. They are such a gift. And I was actually reflecting on, when do I want to take a psychedelic again? And I could feel in my body and even in my soul that the next time I'm going to take a psychedelic, there's something bubbling up. And I'm very excited for that. Something is bubbling up. I get this intuition a lot with psychedelics. And very often in the past, I wake up one day and feel like today is the day that this bubbling up can manifest through taking a psychedelic. And those experiences have always been so amazing and so healing. It is incredibly important that we, us noble ones, with good intentions, people that want to make the world a better place, we want to listen to this intention, or the intuition rather, that the body and that the soul has. If we feel in our body that it's not the time to take a psychedelic, then don't do it. Wait a few months until you get that gong hitting inside of your soul saying, yes, I want to take the psychedelic now. Now is the time. Sometimes it even feels scary because you can feel like this bubbling up is going to be huge. It's going to be a seismic shift in your energy. So it can even be scary, but still one gets this sense of today is the day. And it's been quite a while that today has not been the day. So that's my little update in, midway 2023 update. I still think psychedelics can be so useful. No doubt they can be magnificently useful towards enlightenment. But, life goes through phases, and right now it's the phase of construction and relationship appreciation, not this deep dive, or not this cosmic launch into a different state of consciousness. More grounded, stabilizing phase of life. And it's good that we appreciate these things. It's a very, in a way, this is the meaning of life. Doing something that we feel is purposeful. When I'm on my deathbed, I will look back at these things that I'm doing and smile, I believe. Anyway, on that little bit of self-reflection of my personal life, and as a plane is going overhead, I am going to give you a blessing from the Holy Spirit, a blessing from God for today. May your psychedelic use be Christly in all aspects. May it bring only healing to you. May this happen on your next psychedelic journey, on every psychedelic journey that you go on, and even in daily life today and in daily life forever. I give you that blessing.
Good dog, kid. That's the line. Good dog. Good dog. Good dog. Good dog. Good dog. Okay, that's it.
Oh, wow. I can really